In the lush kingdom of Kajani, nestled between towering mountains and flowing rivers, there was a ruler known as King Mweni. Renowned for his strength in battle and wisdom in governance, he was a king admired by his people. But behind the walls of his majestic palace, hidden from the eyes of the kingdom, lay a forbidden secret that would soon plunge Kajani into chaos and despair. King Mweni had a sister, Nia, whose beauty was unmatched in all the land. Her skin gleamed like polished ebony, and her eyes sparkled like the stars. As children, they had been inseparable, but as they grew older, their bond deepened into something far more dangerous. Despite knowing the law and the wrath of the spirits that guarded their land, Mweni's heart was captivated by Nia, and he saw no other woman fit to be his queen. Blinded by his love, Mweni turned a deaf ear to the whispers of his advisors and the warnings of the elders. His obsession with Nia clouded his judgment, and he believed that his love could overcome any obstacle, even the divine laws that governed their world. But the spirits of Kajani, who had watched over the kingdom for generations, were not to be trifled with. The moment Mweni began entertaining thoughts of marrying his sister, the kingdom was thrust into turmoil. The punishments began subtly at first, like an ominous whisper carried on the wind, but soon they grew louder, more relentless. It all started with the sudden wilting of crops. The fertile lands that had once provided bountiful harvests began to dry up, the vibrant green fields turning into patches of barren earth. Farmers, who had always praised the gods for their fortune, now found themselves begging for rain as their livelihoods were destroyed. Mweni, too consumed by his passion for Nia, dismissed the warnings of the farmers, assuring them that it was just an unfortunate spell of bad weather. But deep down, the elders knew that the kingdom was being punished for the king's forbidden desires. Next came the plague of locusts, swarms so vast they darkened the skies. They descended upon the remaining crops, devouring everything in sight. The people of Kajani watched in horror as their food supply was decimated before their very eyes. Hunger began to spread through the kingdom, and the once vibrant markets grew silent. But even as the suffering of his people grew, Mweni remained stubbornly attached to Nia, refusing to see the connection between his actions and the devastation that was befalling his land. But the worst was yet to come. The rivers that had always flowed abundantly through Kajani, bringing life to the fields and villages, began to dry up. Where once there had been crystal-clear water, now there were only parched riverbeds and dying fish. Thirst and disease spread quickly, and the people grew desperate. Still, Mweni turned a blind eye to the suffering of his people, dismissing their pleas and blaming the gods for forsaking them. He was determined to have Nia as his queen, no matter the cost. As the land continued to suffer, so too did Mweni's court. A mysterious illness swept through the palace, claiming the lives of many of his most trusted advisors. Even the priests, who had always been protected by the spirits, were not spared. The once grand halls of the palace became eerily quiet, filled only with the sounds of the sick and dying. And yet, Mweni remained resolute, convinced that his love for Nia was worth any price. The punishments escalated further. Wild animals, once peaceful and in harmony with the people, began to attack villages. Wolves, lions, and other predators seemed to have lost their fear of humans, hunting in packs and terrorizing the countryside. The cries of the villagers echoed through the night as they struggled to defend themselves against these relentless beasts. Mweni, now isolated in his palace with Nia, grew increasingly paranoid, fearing that the spirits would soon come for him. But even as his kingdom crumbled around him, he refused to release his grip on his sister. Then came the dreams, horrible visions that tormented Mweni every night. In these dreams, he saw the spirits of his ancestors, their faces twisted in anger and disappointment. They showed him images of his kingdom in ruins, his people dead or enslaved, and himself, alone and broken, stripped of his crown and throne. But most terrifying of all was the image of Nia, her beautiful face contorted with pain, cursed by the very love they had shared. Each morning, Mweni awoke drenched in sweat, but still he would not relent. It was then that the final and most cruel punishment was visited upon Mweni. Nia, who had been the source of his obsession, suddenly fell ill. At first, it was a simple fever, but soon it became clear that something far more sinister was at work. Her body began to waste away, and no healer or medicine could cure her. Mweni watched in helpless agony as the woman he loved more than anything in the world was consumed by a mysterious illness that drained her strength day by day. Desperate, Mweni prayed to the spirits for mercy, offering sacrifices and promising to renounce his forbidden love. But it was too late. The spirits had already made their judgment, and there would be no forgiveness for the king who had defied the natural order. Nia's suffering grew worse, her once radiant beauty fading as her body withered. She became a shadow of her former self, and Mweni was forced to confront the reality of his actions. As Nia lay on her deathbed, Mweni finally broke. The once proud and powerful king was reduced to a man begging for mercy, pleading with the spirits to spare his sister's life. But the spirits remained silent, their vengeance complete. Mweni's love, which had once seemed so pure and all-consuming, had brought only ruin and despair. On the night that Nia passed away, the kingdom of Kijani was hit by a powerful storm. Thunder and lightning tore through the sky, and the winds howled with the fury of the spirits. Mweni stood alone on the balcony of his palace, watching as the storm raged around him, knowing that it was a sign that his reign was over. Broken and defeated, Mweni made the ultimate sacrifice. He renounced his throne, abdicating in favor of a distant cousin who had no connection to the sins of the past. He spent the rest of his days as a hermit, wandering the wilderness and seeking forgiveness from the spirits. But the curse of the spirits was relentless. Wherever he went, the land turned barren, and misfortune followed him like a shadow. In the end, Mweni's story became a cautionary tale in the kingdom of Kijani, a reminder of the dangers of defying the natural order and the power of the spirits who watched over the land. The once great king who had married his own sister was remembered not for his strength or wisdom, but for his tragic fall from grace, a man who had loved too deeply and paid the ultimate price. Thanks for watching. Remember, every tale has a lesson. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories.